His message transcends environments and cultures and is transferable to the pulpit of a church, the stage of the university, or the conference room of a professional workplace. He resides in Baltimore, where he works as a speaker, a college professor, and serves on the preaching staff at Mount Pleasant Church and Ministries. Michael earned his BA in Organizational Communication from Cedarville University in Ohio, and MDiv in New Testament from Faith Evangelical Seminary in Washington. Currently, he is all but dissertation, which is an excellent accomplishment, in his D.Min in Expositional Communication, which combines his love for biblical exposition. God gives you one body, so he asked people to appreciate it, and communications. So on May 29th, 2010, he married the love of his life, Chevelle, thank you, Williams in Wilmington, Ohio. In February 2012, they welcomed their firstborn son, Michael Jr., into the world. Shortly after the birth of Michael Jr., I think he needed something more to do than to be a new dad and not sleep. He was afforded the chance of a lifetime to appear as a contestant on NBC's The Biggest Loser. He can currently be seen on the latest season of the longest-running, life-changing show as he competes for the coveted title of Biggest Loser. In his spare time, he enjoys traveling, time with family, and of course, exercising. So Michael, please come share your wisdom with me.
Can you have the mic? Perfect.
Good morning, everybody. Are you feeling all right this morning? Yeah. I tell you what, I'm gonna come down here because I feel a little more comfortable down here. You look all very nice. You have your healthy breakfast, so now we have to stand up and do some jumping jacks, a couple of burpees, that sort of thing. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be here with you all today. I want to first thank the Baltimore Business Journal staff for inviting me to spend some time with you all. And this has been awesome because I actually got to get reunited with a buddy of mine that grew up with elementary and middle school and even a piece of high school. And then we, went our separate ways. And just this morning, Micah, where's Micah at? Where's Micah? I'm gonna embarrass Micah. What's happening, homie? You doing all right, man? It is great to be reconnected and stuff. And you know what? Give yourselves a hand for being here this morning. Give yourselves. So I gotta tell you a thing, I'm not gonna ask how many of you have watched the latest season of The Biggest Loser because I don't want my feelings hurt this early in the morning. But I'm sure most of you are familiar with the show, right? It's a bunch of pretty overweight people who actually live on a ranch somewhere in California. And we get screamed at, we get yelled at, we're told to do things that many fat people should not be doing, and then we lose a lot of weight. But I like to joke, actually it's not a joke, actually I have a confession. What you see on TV was just a show. They tape our workouts, we maybe work out maybe 1 to 2 hours a week, and then we take a pill. And the way people get eliminated is if you're the last person to find your pill. Then guess what? You're the one that has to be eliminated because you are a liability. So that's how it works. I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but that's how we lost our weight, and there you go. Actually, don't we wish it was that simple, right? Don't we wish it was that simple that you just take a pill, right? It's not the society that we live in, though. The society says, we live in this, I like to call TV dinner society, right? Where we like to just go ahead and we like to just pop it in for 5 minutes to meet our needs, and therefore we can do what we need to do and move about our businesses. But how many of you know that is very not successful, right? I tell you what, I love roller coasters. If you love roller coasters, say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Love roller coasters, love roller coasters. Ever since I was 8 years old, my mom and dad took me down to King's Dominion in outside of Richmond, Virginia. You know that, right? And there was a ride, and this may date me a little bit, but there was a ride called the King Cobra. Oh yeah, that's dangerous, right? King Cobra was a real simple ride. It was one of those rides you got in and take you all the way back the hill. You go forward, go through the loop, you go all the way to the top, and it always looked like that one car was going to tip over the top, right? Then you go backwards, do it all over again, and that's it, right? And that's all the ride is, but guess what? Could never get enough of it. Never. Love the King Cobra. From that day forward, I went all over the country trying to ride as many roller coasters as I could because I loved them. Went out to college in Ohio. I grew up in Baltimore, went to college in Ohio, and anybody know anything about Ohio, you know that some of the best roller coasters in the world are in Ohio. We have Cincinnati, Kings Island, you have the Beast, right, among others. Then you go up north towards Cleveland, you have Cedar Point. I mean, every roller coaster there is incredible. I mean, there is nothing like getting on it, going up that lift hill, all to go down it. I'm an ugly screamer too, right? I love riding roller coasters. And so, being a fairly athletic person, I could kind of fake it. I could kind of fake the size thing. I was playing football, wrestling, baseball. I was pretty tall, so I could kind of fake it for a while. Got to a point right after I graduated from college, I ended up staying in Ohio, and I got my season pass to Kings Island. Was excited about riding our roller coasters. And a couple of years later, I would go, and there was one roller coaster I couldn't fit. Kind of played it off a little bit, kind of sitting there thinking, I'm just a little big boned. You may have heard that. Oh, you're just tall. You just can't fit it because you're tall. Then one roller coaster would turn to 2. Another year, 2 would turn to 4. Another year, 4 would turn to 6. It got to a point where there was no sense in me buying a ticket because there were more rides I couldn't get on than I could. And so it would kind of bother me a little bit, but I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I'm the kind of guy that looks at it as, the glass is half full. I'm just like, well, I don't need to be shaking around so much. But deep inside, it was bothering me. 2009, I go to Hershey Park, go to get on a ride, Lightning Racer, standard wooden roller coaster. And I remember asking the attendant, will I fit? Oh yeah, we'll be able to get you one. Okay, cool. So we go to get in, I'm sizing people up, oh, that guy can get, I know I can. I'm sitting there practicing tucking my stomach in, I'm practicing if I have to sit down and cross my legs, doing all the little things I can do. Slowly but surely, getting up to the car, I sit in the car, pull the lap bar back, and guess what, it won't lock. At one point, one attendant comes over, tries to lock it for me. It will not work. 2 people are there trying to lock me in. Will not work. At one point, there are 3 people there working on me like I had a heart attack. The one attendant said, all we need is 1 click. All we need is 1 click. It's like I can hear people saying, 1 click. Click. I'm listening. Oh, let's click. No, it's not click. Needless to say, I never heard my click. I remember getting up out of the seat, walking to the side, and I looked at the train that was moving away with my friends on it. And I was thinking I was 1 click away from getting what I wanted. I could smell it, I could taste it, I could see it. But how many of you have been there? You're just 1 click away, like you could smell that thing, you could taste that thing, you can see that thing, but guess what? You could not get it. Shortly after that, I remember telling a friend of mine that story, and he's one of those people, I'm one of those people that is like, Mike, stop eating. He was one of those people that you like, look, take a sandwich because you need to eat. He was like, never struggled with weight all his life, and he sat there with tears welling up in his eyes, and he says, Mike, I don't think you understand this, but I have my 1 click. And he started telling me about his 1 click, and the more and more I started realizing that, the more and more I realized that everybody needs to hear the story of how to overcome that thing. But here was the one problem. I couldn't overcome mine. Now watch this. Each and every one of you are here today because your business has this 1 click to overcome. This 1 click that we have to overcome is getting our people healthy. And you know what? You're doing the right thing. Those of you who are going to get honored today, you're doing the right thing. Why? Because that's the right thing to do. And a lot of times we set ourselves out for one purpose, but what we find out later on is that there's something even bigger than us. I thought that by overcoming my 1 click, by being able to lose weight, guess what? I'm going to be able to become this big professional speaker. I'm going to get to travel around the world. I'm going to be able to become rich and famous and all this stuff. And that was my motivation to lose weight. And so what ended up happening was I wasn't successful at it because I wasn't keeping the right thing. So as you are moving forward into your workplaces, we're going to congratulate you, but there are 3 things I want you to keep in mind as you are trying to pursue this 1 click, right? Because guess what? You have gotten there, but we haven't arrived yet, right? The first thing I want you to make sure that you're helping people understand is that by not being healthy, they are a liability. Everybody say liability. Liability. Let me tell you something about liability. I auditioned for season 13, which was the season before my season for Biggest Loser, and made it pretty far. As a matter of fact, the final step in the process is they put their list together about top 50 people, fly you out to LA for up to 2 weeks, and all the reality shows do this. And you're actually sequestered there, and they have meetings with the executives and the producers, and they kind of determine what the cast is going to look like. And right when I was waiting for the call to be invited to that, I got the call saying I wasn't going to get invited. Devastating. So that was last summer. That was 2 summers ago, right? And so from that time to the time I got the call for season 14, which was my season, I had gained over 50 pounds. Why? Because I was depressed. Now my purpose in losing weight the first time was because, like I said, I wanted to, get this one-click thing figured out. I wanted to get my book written and be able to travel around the world inspiring others. But between that time and the new time, something important happened in my life. I had a little baby boy. Well, I didn't have him. My wife had him. I'm sure if she was here today, she'd probably be a little upset if I said I had him. But you get the idea, right? Little Mike came in. Now, all my parents, how many of you know that when the little one comes in, it's a game changer? Right? It's a game changer, right? I mean, it's one of those things where you're sitting there and you can't believe that this human being is from you. I mean, and little Mike, if any of you see pictures of him, I couldn't deny him at all. My mother-in-law didn't find this funny, but right when he popped out, I said, "Oh, baby, I guess we don't have to go tomorrow. We know who the daddy is." My mother-in-law did not like that too much. But needless to say, it's something about looking at that little one and realizing, oh my goodness, this is mine, right? And there was one particular day, my wife had gone back to work. I was at home alone with little Mike. I was downstairs. He was upstairs. He was sitting in his crib. He was sleeping in his crib, and all of a sudden he started crying. So I went to rush up the steps, and halfway up the steps, I almost passed out and I got real dizzy. If I hadn't been holding on to the banister, I probably would have fallen. By the time I came to, I got to the top of the steps, I went to his crib, and I looked at him, and I realized that had something happened to me, it may have been a long time before someone would have found the both of us. Y'all, I was a liability, right? I was a liability. Now, me losing weight was more than just becoming this professional speaker that's going to travel all around the world and inspire millions. This person needs to be alive to take care of his family. It's a liability, y'all. Shortly after that, to add insult to injury, a couple days later, I get notification from a life insurance company. I will not tell you what company it is, but basically informing me that because I weighed over 400 pounds, by the way, I started at 444 pounds on the show. Because I weighed 444 pounds, guess what? I couldn't get life insurance. I was a liability. Watch this. I was sitting in a position. Here I am, a man who was abandoned by his dad when he was 2 years old, his biological father. I had to be raised by another man who actually, he adopted me in the 6th grade. I took his last name and all these things. Basically, I always wondered, how did my biological father, how does he feel knowing that his son is calling another man daddy? And here I was in a position that I was going to be putting my son in the same position. I was a liability. Now watch this. As you're trying to overcome this one clip, you're trying to get people to realize they need to be healthy. Not only do you need to let them realize that they are a liability, but you need to also help them realize that they have to develop a lifestyle. Everybody say lifestyle. Let me tell you something. I tried every type of diet there was. All right? If it was a diet, I have tried it. I know there's some of you, if we went to church, would say, "Amen, preacher." I didn't try it, right? And the latest one, right before I got married, was the cookie diet. All right? And somebody said, "Ooh, cookie diet." Not Oreos, not Chips Ahoy. These are special formulated cookies that they served as a meal replacement. They worked out great in theory, You have your 4 cookies during the day, and then you have a sensible dinner at night. And they worked great. I lost about 60 pounds on that. I'm kind of proud. I was looking good, right before my wedding pictures were all, looking all sharp and stuff. And, but, after a while you get bored with just eating cookies, right? You do. Why? Because it wasn't a lifestyle. One of the things that happened on the ranch, people ask me, what is it like to build the Biggest Loser ranch? Well, one of the best ways to describe it, it begins with H and ends with L. You fill in the blank. One of the best ways to describe it is basically rehab. We were in rehab. Hello, my name is Michael Dorsey, and I am a food addict. That's what it was. Basically, on the day we moved to the ranch, I had to surrender my laptop and my cell phone. And for over 8 weeks, I did not have, up to almost 8 weeks, I did not have contact with the outside world. When you guys were blowing around with Sandy and stuff, I found out about it in the LA Times. As a matter of fact, all I got from a production assistant was that my wife and son were okay. Where that? They're okay. All right, they're okay. All right, I guess they're okay. That was it. And so when people talk about Lindsay Lohan and all that stuff, how sad it is, guess what? I actually have a better appreciation because I get it. I was an addict. Let me tell you something about life. I worked hard for 444 pounds. Let me tell you, I worked hard. In my, I like to joke, in my big fat boy days, I would go to Burger King and get my Whopper, or double Whopper. Then I would drive to McDonald's and get my fries. And I had to have dessert, so I go to Wendy's to get my fries. I worked hard for I worked hard. But what I found out as I was going through my experience was that it's more than just exercising. It's more than just eating right. What had to happen was I had to get my headspace together. I had a conversation with Bob. You're familiar with the trainers on the show, right? You have Bob Harper, Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels is a sweetheart. I promise you she is. She called me her sweet pumpkin, so, And Dolphin, everybody likes to smile. Yes, that's a real smile. It even got me when I said, wow, you really do smile like that, dude. That's cool. But Bob and I had a frank conversation. We were joking around. I said, I'm one of the pickiest eaters you ever meet. And Bob looked at me, he said, Big Mike, I don't mean no harm, but you don't get 444 pounds being a picky eater. You just don't, right? And when we started working through the process, I started realizing that the reason why I was eating was because I was an emotional eater, that was a given, right? But I was emotionally eating because I was eating things that reminded me of home. Because it reminded me of when things were safe. It reminded me of when things were simpler. Here I was out in Ohio, I was homesick, so what did I do? I went to Walmart to get some Little Debbie cakes because that's what my mom and dad used to put in my lunchbox when I was a kid. I'll never forget, a couple years after I graduated, I drove over an hour to the other side of Columbus, Ohio, to go to a cheese steak place because they make them similar to how they make them here. Why did I do that? Not necessarily because I wanted a cheesesteak, but because I went to that food because it reminded me of home. Guess what, my friends? You have to let people know it's a lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle. One of the biggest compliments that I kind of brag about this was, Danny Allen out of Chicago. She actually won. And if anybody saw the season, she looks amazing, and she still looks amazing. And one day, right before, so the season, the way it started, we were red, white, and blue team. And I was on the blue team. And, it was sitting pretty, our team was pretty tough, actually. And so they changed the game where they made us individuals, and we each had our own team. We were our own, I was the gray team, right? And we were sitting around in the training room where our athletic trainer was, and we were just talking about how now all of a sudden we're starting to get nervous, it's a different things, every man for himself, and it started getting a little weird around the house too. Before we would go out at night and do our walks together, now it's one of those things somebody would be like, oh, I'm not going to do any more working out, but then you look for them and they out working out. You know what I'm saying? There was just stuff like that going on. It was like, oh, here we go, right? And I remember Danny and I were sitting there, and everybody was ready to go out and do our afternoon workouts, and the athletic trainer told us to stay behind. And he said to us, you two of everybody else does not need to be worried about going home. He said, you two have it. He said, I can't say this to everybody, but you two get it. And that's something that I've been able to hold on to even when I got eliminated and I even had to move on. I mean, I am so thankful. I lost 136 pounds through my experience on The Biggest Loser. As a matter of fact, I'm actually 145 down now. I'm tipping almost at the under 300 mark. Everybody else was joking about they get to the Wonderlands, the 100s. Well, if I get to the 100s, y'all need to. Yeah, we need to do something. It's just not happening. It's not supposed to happen. But my 200s will be a wonderland for me, and I'm excited about that. But it's a lifestyle. Let me tell you something. I get to talk different stuff. I mean, I'm talking about getting my certification. You guys appreciate this in body pump. Can you see that? Oh, feels so good. Yes. Get the body pump back. I'm even getting my certification in spin. One of the things that we have to show people is guess what? It can be fun to be active. One of the things they told us on the ranch, they said, look, if find something that you like to do. I happen to like spin. Let me tell you something, fellas. I'm going to tell y'all something. Don't sleep on body jam and don't sleep on Zumba. I'm telling you something. You can burn some calories just, shaking it out a little bit, get your little dance on, get your little dance, all that stuff, right? There are things that you can do. Some of us, we like to just walk around and catch some air, right? Those are things that we can do. Why? Because we're making it a lifestyle. All right? Now remember this. You're trying to overcome this one clique. You're trying to get people to realize that they got to overcome this health thing. First thing is this. It's what? Well, lifestyle was the second thing. What was the first one? Liability, right? Lifestyle. And here's the third one. Legacy. Everybody say legacy. What is the legacy that you're leaving behind? You know, we live in a society where we think about me, myself, and I, right? And for the longest time, I made it about me, right? Well, I don't feel like doing that, or I don't like that, or this is not my thing. But now, I have to start thinking about, well, what am I doing for those who are coming after me? As a matter of fact, because I want to make sure I get it right, I actually wrote down a definition for legacy that I really liked. And basically, a definition is something that is passed on to you from family, including reputation. My question to you is, what is it that you're passing on to your family? One of the jokes that I joke about is, I talk to my wife, I say, you know what, bedtime's going to be interesting for the kids now because not only are we going to say our prayers before we go to bed, but we're going to do some push-ups and some sit-ups before we go to bed too. Why not, right? Why not? What's wrong with that, right? You know, what's wrong with, one of the things that we incorporate into our family vacations is an activity day, where we're not just sitting around watching movies and stuff, but we're actually being active and involved in being physical, right? What's wrong with encouraging our kids that even though they may not necessarily like it, they do need to incorporate some kind of sport or fitness into their lives, right? What kind of legacy are you leaving for those who don't always know what it is that they don't know, right? One of the things that I love about my experience with Biggest Loser, I'll never forget, Jillian Michaels, we talked about her. She had us on the treadmill one time. And this is like the second week, right? Second week. By the way, those workouts that y'all saw were real, and I don't think the show did any justice to what really was going on. I think the first episode, Jackson was out. You saw Jackson fall out, those that saw the season. He fell out after the first 9 minutes. Yeah, he did. He did. I'll never forget Bob had us doing something. We went back in. I said, why is Jackson on the floor? Jackson just laid there. And I was like, every now and again, I look over. There he was still. He laid out the whole workout. Jeff and I both said, Jackson, you owe us a 3-hour workout because you cheated on the first day, right? But what's funny is the legacy that he left was that all of us realized that no matter where we go, you check any of our Facebook pages, checking our inbox, every last one of us has at least one message where there's a person that said, you know what, I want to let you know that I'm alive today because I heard your story. Because I saw what you did for your little boy. Because I saw the pain that you were in. Because I saw that moment when you actually got it. That here I was putting myself through a path of self-destruction. I was committing suicide. But all of a sudden I saw the light bulb go off, and guess what? Because I saw you be able to do it, guess what? I can do it now too. So one of the facts I want to leave you all with as you are leaving, celebrating, I want you to relish in the fact of you being considered the healthiest. You know what I mean? What does that mean? That means that your employers feel health, they're stress-free, right? So stress. Stress does attribute, by the way, to weight loss. There's a little hormone called cortisol. We learned all about cortisol, right? And learned that when you're stressful, but you also know that when you're stress-free, you're actually more productive. Amen, managers, right? More productivity. But one of the things that we want to relish in is the fact that, yes, we have made this status, but guess what? We still have some work to do. I challenge you all as you're including your one click, because guess what? You're going to hear that click, right? Just this past spring, I was invited, along with Little Bingo, we were invited to actually open up Six Flags America for their grand opening day. And I'll never forget that day when I actually stood there and I locked in the harness of the apocalypse. And I heard my click. But here's what I love about that is the fact that now that I heard my click, there are other clicks I still need to hear. And so my challenge to you all is to work towards hearing your click. Remember, first of all, that there's a liability at stake. But guess what? There's a lifestyle that needs to be reached. But last but not least, what is the legacy that you're leaving your people with? Thank you all very much. Thank you for spending some time.